call this meeting to order and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to January 20th, 26th Hillsdale City Council meeting. We have a roll call vote. City Clerk Price.
Yes, and if everybody can use your microphones, that would be fantastic. Councilperson Bentley,
Here.
Bruns,
Here.
Flynn,
Here.
Morrissey,
Here.
Palladino,
Here.
Soha,
Present.
Stucho,
Here.
Wolfram,
Here.
and Mayor Sessions.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. We're moving to the approval of agenda. Are there any additions, City Council? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? So moved. Support. I have a motion by Councilman Morrissey and supported by Councilman Soha. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We have an agenda. City Manager Mackey will not be here tonight, so we'll move into public comment on agenda items only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address.
Jill Hardway, 157 Oak Street. Good evening. I am here again to address the proposed special assessment districts for your South Street, Oak Street, that you plan to discuss this evening. This represents not an improvement, but a burden on Hillsdale's hardworking residents. Our city has systematically failed to maintain our streets through regular budget allocations. Now we're proposing to transfer the cost of decades of neglect directly onto the shoulders of residents who are already struggling to make ends meet. I've said this before. The median household income in Hillsdale is $42,000. A $5,000 SAT assessment represents nearly 2 months of take-home pay. This is not just an inconvenience. It's a potential financial catastrophe for working families and seniors on fixed incomes. We are not passively accepting this assessment, and under section 11.3, we have objections to these improvements. I'm going to give these to Katie this evening so that you can see that we are planning to move forward in an organized fashion to meet the 51% petition requirement to prevent the project's initiation, and plan to challenge the special benefit calculation, demonstrating the assessment does not provide equivalent value, because that's the thing, it's supposed to add value to the properties. This is not about opposing infrastructure improvement. This is about demanding that the city fulfills its fundamental responsibility to maintain public infrastructure using the existing tax revenue and all of the funds that you know are projected to come to Hillsdale. So I would like to give these to Katie. And also just want to make mention that the property owners from Hillsdale College that rent to students, they are planning to submit a written objection since they don't physically reside in Hillsdale. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
City Pratt, Apple Run. I'd like to know if the building's up to code. I see people are living in it. And are they paying their fines? They seem to do as they please. They don't follow the rules or the laws of our city. We will be getting people from all over coming there. And what's going to happen if they reject them? Where are they going to go? People are still walking through our parking lot, I'm sure because of the snow, but it's not acceptable. And as Councilman Wolfram said, we don't want them in our backyard. And I believe at one meeting, Carrie Stewart commented that Hope Harbor and the thrift store were two different businesses, I don't know what you call them. But as you all saw today, Missy is a CEO of Hope Harbor. So things are going to stay the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing today? I'd like to read something on the record here. A pattern of unwanted, obsessive, and repeated behaviors directed at a specific person, often involving unwanted contact, following, surveillance, harassment, online or in person, or threats, and is a crime in all 50 states. I'm sure that you're all aware of the video that projected Penny here, and
I'm sorry, that is not
Mr.
the agenda,
Sessions.
so this has to be brought up later.
I'm asking to put your,
This has to be brought up later. This is not on the agenda.
what's germane to the agenda is the proposal resolution that I just gave to Katie and a couple board members
But
that I
that
would
was
like
not,
to ask to
that
put
was
on the
not,
agenda.
that was not added to the agenda, so it cannot be talked about right now. Has to be wait until the second comment.
Okay, I'll be back, second comment then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Howard Spence, Apple Run. I'm back. Curious about what the status is as far as the council's concerned of Hope Harbor. Have they paid their fines? Have they been fined anything more than the one time? We're here in the middle of winter again, and about the time this whole thing started, what, 3 years ago? Gave that first adjournment that they could, stay there. Who's requesting the rezoning? Is it the current person company that's buying it under a land contract, or is it the owner who actually owns the property and has a say? I did a little check using their numbers of 320 people they've serviced at Hope Harbor Camp, whatever it was called. Current population is about 8,000 in the city and about 45,000 in the county. With 8,000 in the city, by their numbers, 4.08% came through their camp. And almost 1% of the county people came through their camp. I have serious questions on whether these people that have been serviced by their camp were citizens before they arrived here, or did they get here and become a citizen of the city? And why are they still pushing all this? Is somebody getting some kind of a guardianship or caretaker's payment? I know someone who does, takes care of a family member every month, makes a decent living. Are they doing that? They collected money off of this? Is that why they're still fighting it? There's been so much against them. Why are they still doing it? Why are they still living in a building that doesn't meet code, that's not residential? And the last couple of months it's been pretty quiet down there. Of course, it's been winter and it's been cold, and I wonder if the population have headed south. Come spring, are they gonna be back? Are they gonna start growing again? Be my guess, going on past, years. And I said it before, as long as they're allowed to continue to do as they please, when they please, the way they please, they're gonna continue to give the council and the residents of the city the finger. They're still doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, CJ Toncraig, Ward 3. I just wanted to touch on the special assessments because, like Jill said, the infrastructure needs to be done. My question is, and my concern is, are all of the engineering policies or all the preliminaries that are going to be done to these special assessments going to be done prior to all of the residents voting no? I mean, it sounds like over the last couple of meetings that people have brought this up, that there's going to be a petition and they're going to want it turned down. Now, I was affected by the Berry Road. I didn't not want it done, but I wanted you to look at the possibility of bringing the cost of the cap down so that it was something that someone can stomach. And like in that situation, it's not that I was disappointed that it didn't go through, but I was happy for the residents that couldn't afford it. And so looking at the numbers and the plans for the next couple of years for the assessments, it concerns me that we're gonna spend a ton of money to have it laid out, engineered, and presented, and then why are we not having the vote from the residents before we spend that money to do all of those things and then ultimately have it voted down? So that's my suggestion, is that we turn around the way we're doing it. Vote, have the residents vote if there isn't a way of bringing that cap down and finding a way of funding it in another way. I'm not against paying something, even though it's basically we're getting hit with what other people didn't do years down the road to maintain these roads. But it just seems to me that we're kind of doing it backwards. Why spend the money on the engineering if the residents are gonna vote it down? So that was my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Edward Thomas, 2200 Bar Street, Hillsdale Township, Michigan. I was actually addressing page 28 in specific on the packet. It says, "It is our understanding that the City of Hillsdale Planning Commission has denied Hope Harbor's request to operate a sober home living facility within the city limits." If you go to the Planning Commission notes of November 19th and you go to the feedback, it's actually on number 4, commercial site plan A, and then you look at, I think it was acting commissioner at the time, or chairperson, Laycock, he says, "They reviewed how the application fails to meet the definition of an allowable use. No dormitories are permitted." So, nobody really told them that they couldn't have a sober living facility. They just said, in this specific zoning, you have to do it this specific way. And I was at the meeting, and they were really good about laying out a couple of ways that they could do it. And so I did a little bit of research on the Fair Housing Center of Southeastern and Mid-Michigan, and right from there about us, it says the Fair Housing Center of Southeastern and Mid-Michigan is a private, nonprofit fair housing organization. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will close the podium. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. I have approval of bills, city and BPU claims of December 30th, 2025 of $917,048.10. Payroll of December 30th, 2025 of $218,771.42. City council minutes of January 5th, 2026, and finance minutes of January 5th, 2026. And I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support. I have a motion by Councilman Morrissey, supported by Councilman Soha. May I have a roll call vote, City Clerk Price?
Yes, Councilperson Bruns,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Morrissey,
Yes.
Palladino,
Yes.
Soha,
Yes.
Stucho,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Sessions.
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley.
Yes.
That's 9-0, it's approved.
Okay, we'll go into communications and petitions. I have a letter from Toys and Tots, and then I have a letter from Dr. Todd Ryan, DDS. I have a letter from Hope Harbor, letter. I have a MSU Extension viral classes governing. This information offers classes that the city will cover for council people if they want to go to that. Then I have the staff update on the solar project research request. There was a memo in the packet from City Manager Mackey with an update. Then we have the library appointment communications from January 5th, 2026, the emails from the FOIA requests. And then now we have Hillsdale County Commissioner update, Doug Ingles.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Tonight, the information I have for you, the Board of Commissioners organization meeting was held on January 2nd. Mark Wiley was elected chairman and Ed Benzine was elected as vice chair. First business meeting of the new year was January 13th. 5 ambulance contracts were approved. Also passed at that meeting was a resolution locating 2B District Court at 25 Care Drive. The Budget Committee met today and will meet again, I'm sure, to bring to the Board of Commissioners at our next meeting the plan for funding options to be discussed. Emergency communication towers are constructed and up. The fencing around the towers is up. Equipment shelters are placed and they're currently waiting on consumers for power. July is still the live date. Marshall's is coming to Kroger Plaza in Hillsdale. They will have open interviews January 28, 29, 8:30 to 4:30 at the Michigan Works Service Center on 21 Care Drive. And currently, Michigan Works has 110 part-time and full-time jobs posted. And that completes my update for now. If you have any questions, please ask.
Councilman Flynn.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Just one on the resolution affirming that you're moving to B District Court. Is the timeline for that, was that a part of the resolution that it's still going to be by October of 28?
October of 28 is when the annex must be vacated. And that's previously an arrangement with Hillsdale Renaissance. And so that date is still firm. We're backing up the notifications and the bids and all of the elements required so that we will have a date where the wheels really start turning. But we had meetings today even, and I know the Budget Committee met today, and so we're in process currently.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions for Commissioner Eagles? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
We have no introductions or adoptions or ordinance public hearings. We have no old business. We will go into new business, High Street 2026 Insurance Service Agreement. Assistant City Manager Sam Fry.
Thank you, Mayor Sessions. Thank you, Council. So it is time once again for the city to renew our property and casualty insurance coverage. This is an annual item that comes before Council every year. Our insurance coverage period begins February 1st, so this year it'll go from February 26th to February of next year. We have here tonight with us Chris Sumnar and Greg Burrows from High Street. They are the city's insurance counselor. Chris has worked in that capacity for quite a few years now to help the city navigate the insurance market and obtain an appropriate level of coverage for the different city components we have. The first item on the agenda here is the insurance service agreement with High Street. So as part of this process, you'll remember a couple years ago, we broke out the actual service fee for the services rendered from being embedded within the actual overall premium structure and coverage cost. We did this way for transparency so council could see. I would note here, this has been a flat rate. That $50,000 amount has been for several years. As Chris can attest, in an embedded commission model, that would today probably be about $16,000 or $17,000 more. So the city really is getting a good deal and a good value for that as they continue to help us obtain coverage rates well below what we're seeing in the commercial market. So this first item here is the agreement for council to approve to continue working with them. I will, if there are any questions, I will have Chris come up here. He can talk about either this agreement, and then following that, we'll actually have him just do a brief synopsis on the actual premiums and the increase that we saw this year. I would say that the recommendation of city staff is to approve the agreement, and also for the first option to renew our coverage at about a 5.28% premium increase. Initially, when we started this process, I think we were told 6 to 9 is probably would land in that range, 6 to 9%. It's actually, I think, as Chris can attest to, probably a lot higher, closer to 10% or double digits, amongst a lot of cities and municipalities. So this is just a very small increase over what we had last year. This will be year 3 with Travelers Insurance. Moving forward, we would look to once again, do a full advertising and an RFP to see if there are better options. But we're quite comfortable with what's being provided and the continued services we're getting. So that would be my recommendation. Are there any questions for Chris or Greg this time?
Councilman Bentley.
This might be more for you, I don't know. How often are we, using, how do I say it? Like, how often do we get have a claim and have it pay out?
It depends. It depends on any given year. I don't have the exact number of claims that we've paid over the past years. I don't know if that's something at all that, Chris could attest to. But, if it does come up and it's something that needs to be paid out, that's why we have the insurance coverage. Ultimately, it's a protection for the taxpayers. We hope to not use it, but the reality is we very
course. But we were briefed on all the stuff we're covered on, and I just am curious, ballpark of, maybe Chris can answer, but.
You can shed any light on that, Chris?
I don't have the loss run document in front of me, but I'll tell you anecdotally, I would say we have a handful of auto accidents a year, and any given year we might have a sidewalk slip and fall issue. In recent memory, we've had some employment practices suits that we won't obviously get into detail here. But I would say on average year from a claims perspective, most of the activities on the auto side, given that footprint, and then with occasion the general liability from a slip and fall most frequently.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman Flynn.
And Chris, this policy also covers the BPU, correct?
It does. Correct. Yeah. And we provide an allocation split of all line items between city and BPU.
Okay, thank you.
Any more council questions? Okay.
Sam, so just for you then, so does the BPU then pick up a share of this since they're also covered by this policy, or is this considered I don't want to use the word umbrella policy because that means something probably different than Chris, but do they kick in a little bit?
I believe they do. I don't know what the exact breakdown is, but they do contribute.
Yeah, and I mean, so again, in broad strokes, I would say the BPU actually pays about 2/3 of the overall premium by the time you allocate vehicles expenditures, which is how they charge for liability and otherwise. So we literally go policy by policy, insurable item by insurable item, whether that be building or vehicle, and allocate cost to the city and the BPU.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I would just add too, so, here in Hillsdale, not only do we, provide water and wastewater services, but we do have an electric utility, which some other communities don't have. And so ensuring that and finding someone like Travelers that's able to cover that is actually something of maybe a rarity, would you say, kind of nowadays, or at least not extremely common. There's cost there.
I would say having a publicly owned utility and the transmission, but more importantly the generation piece, is absolutely the most difficult in terms of finding coverage and market presence. When we did the broad, marketing to the entire marketplace, and again, we talked about this a little bit in the finance committee, and Mr. Bentley made me promise to not subject you to that whole presentation a second time. But we have access to pretty much every fully insured, all of the top fully insured markets for municipal insurance. And that is the number one limiting factor in terms of who will do it is will they do the electrical utility.
Yes.
So without any other questions, again, the first item is to approve the insurance services agreement with High Street.
So we have to do this in two.
Yep, there's the insurance agreement, and then there's the actual proposal, the renewal proposal.
I move then to approve the insurance agreement with High Street for fee services of $50,000 to provide insurance to the city and the PPU.
And I second.
All right, I have a motion by Councilman Soha, second by Councilman Wolfram. Any more council discussion? Yep, Councilman Soha.
I just appreciate you not raising the rates.
More council discussion? Seeing none, we have a roll call vote. City Clerk Price.
Yes, Councilperson Flynn.
Yes.
Morrissey,
Yes.
Palladino,
Yes.
Soha,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Sessions,
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley,
Yes.
and Bruns.
Yes.
It's 9-0, it's approved.
Thank you.
I move to approve the property and casualty insurance provided by
Services. Okay, motion by Councilman Soha, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Flynn. Is there any more council discussion? Seeing none, may I have a motion, or may I have a roll call vote? City Clerk Price.
Yes, Councilperson Morrissey.
Yes.
Palladino.
Yes.
Soha.
Yes.
Stuchel.
Yes.
Wolfram.
Yes.
Mayor Sessions.
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley.
Yes.
Bruns.
Yes.
And Flynn.
Yes.
It's 9-0, that's approved.
All right, thank you. We'll move into the proposed 2026 special assessment districts for street projects. May I have Director of Public Services, Jason Blake, and Robert Stuyvesant, City Engineer.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor, Council. During the 2026 construction year, we have just under 2 miles of street work proposed over 3 different special assessment districts. The first district, 2026-1, consists of Arch Avenue, 0.34 miles, engineering estimate of $448,000. Industrial Drive for Mechanic to Beck Road, 0.62 miles, estimated to be $743,500. And that also includes Proctor Drive. Proctor Drive is just from industrial to the cul-de-sac at 0.089 miles. Next special assessment project district is 2026-2, which is South Street. South Street is from M99 to the west side of Reading Ave. That project is roughly 0.33 miles for engineered estimate of $775,000. This is with an optional, as we talked about during the last council meeting, to include Fayette Street north to catch that to College Street. So Oak Street, just from the bike path just north of Willow to Fayette Street is 0.42 miles with an engineered estimate of $960,000. With the optional add-on to go that next block to College Street, there would be an increase of about $327,300 to bring that total project of $1,287,300. So we're looking at approximately without the add-on, about $3 million. With the add-on, about $3.4 million. The plans and specifications were included with the package. If you have any questions for me or for our engineer, Rob Stuyvesant?
Councilman Flynn.
Yes, sir. I know you explained once, but could you explain again on the Oak Street project why you're not going from Carlton Road
Yes.
north, please?
Absolutely. So between Willow and Carlton, there is a culvert there. It is in failed condition. That does need a full reconstruct. It is going to be about 1.2 to 1.4. Steve can quote me on this, as we just got out there for that project standalone. So I don't want to. I'd rather put that as a complete project together when we do the culvert repair further down the road.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Is that culvert, I know it needs to be replaced, but is it something that we've got a little bit of time, or is it something that needs to be done the next year or two? Do you know? Can you tell?
If I would say the one in Galloway needs to be done sooner than later, and then the one in Hillsdale, I would say within 10 to 15 years, they all need done, regardless of where they're on the schedule.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Councilman Bentley.
Just say a few more words about, because I thought we talked about just going up to Academy Lane, but the option you've shown us goes all the way to College and picks up all those extra properties.
Correct. So the chip seal ends about 150, 200 feet still north of Academy Lane. So from Academy Lane to where we stopped chip seal in 2018, that's still in about 2 to 3 on the Pacer scale category. We really need to collect that other additional 200 to 300 feet to get that in there.
So 327K additional just to go to the corner?
That is from Fayette all the way to the corner.
Yeah, no, that seems kind of prohibitive. I don't understand why, but.
So just kind of go over to Monroe Street. The Monroe Street project was 2 blocks. That was almost $700,000. last year was 667.
You're right, and I don't have the numbers exactly, I know they're here, but that stretch from Willow to Fayette, off the top of my head, is way more than 80% of getting to the curve.
So that project will include curb and gutter, and you probably know that more than me, but curb and gutter on both sides of the road, and that has parking on both sides of the road there, so it's wider than a standard 28-foot road. Is that correct?
That's correct. One thing too is the
Could you, yeah, thank you.
Fayette to College, that was done by Rowe. The rest of Willow to Fayette is my work. So as we get into that, if you want to move forward with that, I'll pick that apart and see if there's spots where I can save money. But because of the timing and when it came around and Jason already had that estimate in place, that's what we presented to you.
Okay, I guess I'm not sure I understand, but I guess I would vote for the more minimal one then, because the extra 327 to go just that little distance, I think it's disappointing, but I guess there's reasons, so.
I would say that's a very high estimate too, Councilman, very high. As Rob put on, and I apologize, that I already had that one, and we were so crunched for time, we just threw that in there to have a number. I don't want to say how much we can come down, but I think we can comfortably bring it down 15% at least.
I guess we're doing this. So, Rowe, what were you just referring to? Rowe did that?
Correct. Rowe Enterprises. When Kristen Bauer left, we used Rowe Services for a couple of these, and they already had that on. I already had that on file. So that's almost several months old before Rob even came on.
Okay, and again, just to go whatever it is, it seems to me like 200 feet to the Academy Lane. That's not tenable for some reason.
It's more than 200 feet from Fayette to get to Academy, and then it's 200 feet north of Academy, just south of the curve. I don't remember the footage off the top of my head, but it's 600. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councilman Flynn.
And just a quick question for Sam. Council's actions tonight, we aren't approving any work yet, we're just basically approving the next step.
Yeah, so tonight what we have in front of you, this item is us presenting the plans. So, by charter, when we have proposed projects and council has directed staff to go ahead and do the design work for consideration of establishment of possible special assessments, we have to come up with the costs, the plans, the specifications, and present that to council. And then council chooses to set a public hearing and adopt the resolution of necessity. At that public hearing, that's when you hear from residents and you can make a decision about, do we establish the district, to do the project. So for the purposes of tonight, it's one, just to go through, because now we've had a chance to do the work for all three projects. To present that would be on file with the clerk's office, and then if council wants to set public hearings for these three projects, you would go ahead and adopt the resolutions to do so. The public hearing would be on the 16th, and that would give our city residents about a month or so to review the plans and the projects and decide if this is something that they support or don't support, talk to their council members. And then the purpose of hearing, of the public hearing is we also have to verify if we get any petitions, whether they, are coming from folks inside that district. And so you will see that there is a district map as well with each of these that shows the affected parcels. But to answer your question, yes, the purpose of tonight is to set the public hearings if council wants to go ahead with that. The one caveat would be for that Oak Street project where we have the original scope and then we have the optional add-in, council would need to decide whether you want to include that optional add-in as part of the district, because if so, then we also need to notice those folks. So that's where a decision would be made on, do we stop at Fayette or do we go north basically to College? But other than that, it's just setting the public hearings for these at this point.
And while I'm hitting up everybody, Kim, could I ask you a question, please? Is there a way, without creating absolute havoc in your office, that down the road, or even starting with these projects, and I think we brought it up before, where you could look at the affected properties or the proposed affected properties and say, okay, you're gonna pay $3 grand, you're gonna pay $4,800, you're gonna pay $27. Is there a way to, so that residents would know more close to what they would pay instead of just throwing out the $5,000?
So the 5,000, the only thing that I can give them at this point is the maximum, until I know what percentage of the project cost is gonna be assessed,
Oh,
how big the district is gonna be, so how, what percentage and how it's gonna be allocated. And that's all done at that first public hearing,
okay.
when you pass that resolution establishing that you do wanna move forward with the special assessment.
Okay, but there is a time where you could then let property owners know that you're not gonna get 5,000, it's gonna be closer to 3,500 or whatever number.
Right, whatever.
Right.
Right, but that would, we have to have this step before I can make those determinations.
Okay, thank you.
Council discussion? Oh, Councilman Bell.
So, we're voting to find the necessity and schedule a public hearing.
Correct, so now, that'll be on the next agenda item, yeah, this is just for the plans and drawings. But after this, yes, we'll go through one by one and do a resolution of necessity for all three special assessment projects.
Thank you. And so now we need to decide amongst ourselves.
No, there's no action for this is just informational. If we have no more questions, we can move on at your guys' leisure to the next steps of the resolution of necessity.
Oh, well, I mean, while we're on Oak Street, shouldn't we decide what council wants to do, which option?
That's agenda item.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
F and G.
Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, there will be a chance for council when we get to agenda item 8 to discuss that. Yep.
More council discussion. Councilman Soha.
So this isn't for you, this is for my fellow councilman, Jim, and Lee. But, so CJ brought up a great point. I think it would be beneficial to move forward with the hearing, just to hear the public's comment, but I don't see a 7 majority vote yes from this council. And unless we're willing to do this, because there's a reason that council can overturn 51 out of 100, because there's a necessity in the city that needs to be addressed that the people don't particularly like the way that we're addressing it. So if there's not 7 of us that are willing to, vote against those, those letters of opposition, then I would suggest that we not spend the city's resources to do any further work on those projects. I'd just like to discuss that openly right now, because they could put their energy and time to other uses. Just want your thoughts on that.
Councilman Flynn.
Well, going also with what CJ said then, if Kim and her office can come up with concrete numbers, or almost concrete numbers, for those property owners, and as CJ mentioned, 5,000 may be too much to bite off, but if it's only gonna cost them 3, or as Mr. Bentley has said in past meetings, only 2,800, and they would be more comfortable with that, I think we at least give her office an opportunity to come up with some numbers, and then let the people say, well, I might be able to afford that, or no, I can't afford that, instead of just blanket saying no, and then find out, oh yeah, I could have afforded that.
No, that's a great idea. So just to remind council as well, Public Services got together, we readjusted the assessments 5, 10 to 5, 10, and 15,000, and if I remember correctly, that was unanimously adopted. So if we want to reduce the rates for the residents or for any of the assessments, then we should urgently get Public Services back together to make a presentation that we could adopt on February 3rd, so when these come to council, they have the new assessments, because it's my opinion that we should have the assessments at what a council determined rate, not at an arbitrary rate. So up to 2,800 or 3,000 instead of up to 5,000. And I'm just discussing it, I'm not saying we should do that or shouldn't, I just think.
But I think, didn't we sort of kind of do that already? I know when Josh was up here, we talked about, and we might have even tweaked it to where somebody who has less property footage is going to pay less than somebody who has more property footage. So didn't we kind of already do that?
That's correct. It's based on the
Linear
frontal footage, but most parcels are gonna be assessed the full amount. And then there's a few, because there's like a driveway access or something that we thought it was unfair to have that. And so we assess that differently. But my suggestion is, if council's willing to do this, because of all the public opposition, would be for us to get back together urgently in before next council meeting, come up with a plan to present to council, discuss it, to maybe reduce those rates and see if the public will not reject this so vehemently. I'd just like your thoughts on it.
Councilman Bowman. I guess I'd like to commend you both for engaging in this. Because I've wondered if council is hearing the people. And I think we should put our cards on the table. I think there's 3 solid no's, so you're not gonna get to the 7. And that's an interesting idea to bail out early, but then we don't get any roads. And I don't think we're gonna find any potential districts that aren't in industrial, special cases with large residential properties, that we're not gonna face this issue. So I agree. As I've said before, $2,800 I think would diffuse the whole thing. And it would also, if I'm not mistaken, make Kim's job a lot easier, because there will be fewer exceptions. And I think they're all gonna be maxed at whatever the max is, essentially, with a few exceptions. So I'm glad we're having this discussion. So kudos.
If I could make a recommendation. Rather than setting a cap at an arbitrary number, you may want to look at reducing the percentage that you're specially assessing of the project cost. And in that way, it's uniformly reducing people's assessments rather than just picking a number.
Thank you, and I see the benefits to doing it that way. But I think, if I could be so bold as to speak for the people, it's the uncertainty that's as irritating as anything else. Whereas if they just knew what it was going to be, and then, we could retrofit it to 2,800 times whatever it is going to be the budget. So I take your point, but I just think for the people's sake, and so everybody, all the cards on the table, it just looks a little, I just don't think they're going to buy into it when they say Kim's going to do her formulas, and we'll see what happens. So if it were just solid 2,800, then I think their efforts would cease, and we could get 2 new roads.
Keep in mind, I also have to be able to defend these in tribunal.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Just while you're having this discussion, remember that your ability to specially assess an improvement has to be related in some fashion to the value that that improvement bestows on each particular piece of property for which you're specially assessing. So that's part of the problem I think Kim's trying to get at in terms of the enforceability of a special assessment, that you just set it a flat rate regardless of where you live, regardless of how much property you own, regardless of the manner in which you're going to set up your district. So that's what she's concerned about. and has suggested the percentage, because then you've got something that is tied to the value of your property and the potential increase in that value that may come from this improvement.
I think I understand what you're saying, but again, maybe Kim knows off the top of her head, maybe she doesn't, but there would only be a few that would come in less than $2,800, and everybody else, it would just be $2,800 presumably. So I guess I don't understand the legal hang-up, because they're gonna
Because
get,
then, if that were in fact the case, you are going to be charging some people or assessing them more than the increase in the value of their property that's a result of that assessment, and that's illegal.
no, I'm not trying to take away Kim's ability to lower it from 2,800. I'm just saying everybody would be max 2,800. I would guess there would be very few that would come in less than that, but Kim would still do her calculations for the lesser valued homes or less curb, whatever. I'm just, I don't see the liability necessarily, as long as she still does like, I'm not mandating everyone pays $2,800, it's just nobody pays more than $2,800, and Kim would find one or two or three that came in less than that, I presume, is all I'm suggesting.
If you change the percentage, rather than just picking a number out of the air, then maybe multiple people would be below that $2,800 instead of just a couple. So that's why I'm saying that may be the better alternative.
What is that percentage currently?
Currently, we're assessing 50% of the project cost.
So if we made it 45,
25,
20,
whatever.
whatever.
Realistically, like the Westwood project, we realistically only assessed like 17% of the total project cost because of the cost of that project after we applied those caps.
Mayor Pro Tem Palladino.
Thank you, Mayor Sessions. What's the split on the industrial arch project?
As far as?
The city special assessment share?
So for that district, the combined district, industrial, Proctor, and Arch, it's projected to be about $437,000 in special assessment payments towards that $1.3 million project cost. So, and if you look across all three projects, and this would be, as staff, kind of our only, word of caution with taking the approach of, looking at the caps again. We're doing right now, or what we have proposed, is $3.5 million worth of road work, effectively with, about $900,000 or so coming from special assessments. If the caps are lowered, or we change the percentage that's assessed, we can do that, but we'd have to scale back the work. We would not be able to afford to do all three of these projects. It would eat up essentially all of our fund balances in 202 and 204, and we would not be able to do a project next year. So that is an option to look at how we do it, but there needs to be an understanding that that would have to come with a corresponding decrease in the amount of work we do this year and the scope of that construction, and we'd have to choose, a project or a significant portion of a project to eliminate to make the numbers work.
Councilman Stuccio.
Just a legal question, I guess. Do we run a risk, because we've already done this at 50% with some residents, and now we reduce it to 35% or whatever? Is that a conflict of any type?
And not necessarily. I mean, to the extent that, so you have to think about it this way. If you could justify legally the 50% number with the cap at $5,000 as being roughly the amount of benefit that you as a property owner receive from the improvement of your street, then a lesser number or a lesser percentage would be even more safe in terms of having been an assessment, because we're not even going to assess you the full amount of what the benefit might have been to you.
But I'm just saying.
So from a legal standpoint, no. I mean, if we could justify what we've been doing before, if the percentage is lower, then you certainly can justify that the amount that we're assessing you as a property owner being lesser than what we did before, and that one was okay legally because it theoretically was that amount of value.
What I'm saying is Dr. Beard, because he paid 50%, he doesn't have a case to say, now we're doing right down the street at 28% or 35%.
No, his case would be that he real potentially really cheesed off at people on council for having done that. But from a legal standpoint, the question is, can you justify the number that you charged him that long ago? And could he challenge that and say, hey, wait a minute, you didn't give me $5,000 worth of benefit to my property, so you shouldn't have assessed me that, right? And by now, from a statute of limitations standpoint.
Councilman Dillon?
We could also consider, and sorry to make more work for Kim, but a hybrid of my proposal and Kim's proposal, like make the max 3,000 and set the limit at 33% SADs or something. I mean, I don't know, but as I think Mr. Soha intuits, if we don't do something, the projects are going down.
Yeah, just to make sure you understand what I was talking about before, and this has nothing to do with anybody else's comments about how it might impact the amount of, road you could put in a particular area. Functionally, that's what you have now, right? You've got a percentage of the project that can be specially assessed, 50%. But there's a cap on that you as an individual property owner would pay. So lowering that cap and also lowering the percentage of the work that you're going to fund by way of special assessment as opposed to, coming out of the coffers of the city, is doing the same thing. You're just dropping the numbers and the percentage, that's all. So there's nothing wrong necessarily with that approach. It just has practical consequences in terms of how much, road you can build in a particular, depending on your funding.
No, that's right. That's well taken. And yeah, I think it's unanimous in the whole town. We need more roads. But I don't want to play chicken with the people that if we don't negotiate, do something, figure something out, they will kill these two projects and they will kill every project afterwards. So maybe Mr. Soha's right. This has to go back to committee. I don't like the calendar is ticking away and we're going to get into the season and mess up the engineer and such. So I don't know if we should do it tonight or in a committee meeting, but.
So if I could make a recommendation. The appropriate time for property owners to appeal the individual assessments would be at their second public hearing, not at this stage. At this stage, we're just looking at, is this a project we need to do? And then you as council members have to decide how can you pay for it.
Right.
Individual property owners are given an opportunity to appeal their individual assessments down the road in the process. So if they're not happy with where they come out with our current policy, they can come to you at that time and you can direct me to redo the assessment using a different standard.
Yeah, I don't anticipate a lot of individuals coming as individuals to quibble with their individual assessment.
I thought that was what we were talking about.
No.
A $3,000 cap is an individual assessment.
Cap, it's a cap.
For that one property.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. We set the assessment based on our current policy. We send out notices, let them know what that policy results in for them as individuals. And then they can come in and appeal their individual assessments and you can determine whether or not it's a fair assessment for that property. That's the way the process was set up.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're saying right there, but
So before they have something to appeal, we have to set an assessment. Right now, they're appealing it strictly on the basis of it's going to be specially assessed.
No, I'm prepared to vote that there's a necessity that we go to the next step. I just don't want to walk into a thing where they, not individually, but as 51%, say no thank you, and then we're stuck.
If I'm following, I think the upshot is just that if this goes to committee, the committee, as Councilman Soha said, needs to meet soon, as in before our next meeting, so that we have a new policy to hopefully put in place at that time.
Yeah, I appreciate that, yeah, and I would like to set these for February 16th or whatever that date is, and then have our meeting before February 3rd or whatever the first meeting in February is.
We have to send out those notices.
Yes.
We have statutory deadlines for when those notices have to go out.
Yes, everything we push back a month if we do this.
If you're changing the policy at your next meeting, we need at least 2 meetings after that before we hold the public hearing in order to meet our statutory deadlines.
That's good information. So, here's what I don't want to see happen. I don't want us to have Berry Street. I don't want the city to spend all its wheels and all its time and money doing engineering, and then it come to council, and 51 out of 100 houses said no, and so council capitulates, which is fine. I mean, we're listening to the people, right? I've reflected on this very, very heavily, and I wonder if I should have voted differently on that particular project, because Berry Street is in desperate need, and it would have been a bigger project than just the asphalt. The BPU would have gone in and done some infrastructure work underneath the street as well, which they're not going to do now. And so I wonder if we would serve the city better, even if 51 out of 100 of our constituents say no, that we tell that, we choose to move forward with these at the currently assessed rates, if that would benefit the city better, and I think maybe it would, because South Street's desperate, Oak's desperate, Reading Avenue's desperate. I mean, all these streets are desperate, and even with the extra $400,000 coming from the state, if that actually comes into our coffers, we're still buying the 8 ball. This is why council in the late teens adopted the special assessments in the first place, is because we kept being behind the 8 ball, and this actually gave us an opportunity and a feeling to make some improvements and some headway, because fixed streets are easier to maintain than what we've been delivered. And yeah, no, it's none of our faults. This is something that we all inherited, the city staff, council, the people who have chosen to move and live here, and we've all inherited this crumbling infrastructure, and we don't have the budget to tackle it. And unfortunately, it needs to be tackled. And so where does that money come from? Nobody's willing to give to the project except for Councilman Morrissey and I. Did you give to the project voluntarily as well?
I paid $5,000.
But you were assessed.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm saying Councilman Morrissey and I donated $5,000 to the city. I put that request out and I get chastised for it online. Why did I do it? Why? Because my wife and I said, the city needs its infrastructure fixed. I live in the city. I'm a member of this. I want my neighbor's streets to be something that are passable. One of my constituents has some historic automobiles that he won't drive to his house because the street's in such disrepair. He doesn't want to drive his antique automobile down a terrible street. So, and that happened to be Berry Street, and we're not assessing it. He said, "Can you just do my part?" Unfortunately, we couldn't. But so this is what I'm asking: would we have the resolve to have angry constituents like Mayor Sessions here? He wasn't particularly pleased with his assessment. He came and told us multiple times, but we assessed him nonetheless. And now he has a beautiful road, and I don't know if you remember what Glendale was like, and those streets were like before we repaved them. It was terrible. It was terrible. And so I don't know, I mean, the city of Hillsdale has a very limited budget, and we need to make improvements with that limited budget. Maintain the rest of our infrastructure, maintain our police and fire, maintain our parks, maintain, our public, our DPS building, and maintain our generators out there by the lake, and all these other things that we have, our fleet of vehicles and other, that we don't buy new ones because we're trying to save money so we can make these roads fixed. Maybe it's our duty and responsibility to say, listen, we hear you, and yes, this is a terrible burden and sacrifice, but it's a necessary one for the future of Hillsdale. Or maybe we get public services together, we delay it, unfortunately, and we redo that to this $2,800, which I don't remember, was it Mr. Kokendall or who suggested that? I remember it came before us quite a few meetings ago. But it's just something, because what I don't want to do is spend the city's time and energy for them just to be frustrated because we say no 2 months later. So that's what I'm trying to address right now.
I think you're asking if which of us would be interested in overriding a petition objecting to a project. And I wouldn't be interested in doing that under any circumstance. So it makes 2, maybe 3.
Well, that's fair, and that's why I'm airing it, and I erred on the side of that as well, and I'm questioning if that's the right decision in every circumstance.
But I do think there's a definite middle way, compromise position possible here, as you suggested as well.
Which there is, but to the city staff's point is we're not going to be able to do as many projects if we choose to lower, and if that's what we do, that's what we do. I'm actually fine with that. I just want projects to get done. I want the engineer to engineer something that actually gets paved. That's what I want.
Mayor Pro Tem Palladino.
Thank you, Mayor Sessions. Very well said. Councilman Soha, appreciate your desire to have the city staff pursue projects that are feasible. Yeah, I'm not going to vote to override the petitions. I probably won't vote for it under any circumstances because I think that taxation requires prior consent. Good law needs to be regular, predictable, uniform, and equitable. Special assessments are irregular, unpredictable, inequitable. It's the very nature of these laws. I'm happy to meet in public services, but we spent months, we've spent years going over this policy over and over again. I mean, some of the changes that were made cut monthly payments by 25 to 50% in some cases because of the 3 factors: reduced interest rate, longer repayment period, which is, that's a double-edged sword, of course. It's not good to repay your credit card over a longer period, but as well as the reduced total cost. Okay, so those were pretty, those are fairly sweeping changes, and we're still here. So I'm happy to discuss it, and we could reformulate it a little bit. Changing the percentage is probably the right call, but even then, you're back in this weird situation. I think I asked you this before, but we can't have different percentages for different projects.
You could, but you have a policy that says you do 50%.
Okay, so maybe that's a possibility?
That's what I'm saying. If, based on the 50%, more than 50% of the property owners come in and appeal and say they're not in favor of the special assessment at that number, then that's when you go back and say, okay, in this case, we maybe need to do this a little differently.
Right, and But even there, I would only feel comfortable if we were making decisions that I thought were actually rooted in the general good versus the special benefit. So, for example, if you have a cul-de-sac and I'm going to be tempted to say, well, that's almost all special benefit. Sorry, that's the nature of the thing. Oak Street, there is a special benefit, right? You want to be able to drive to your own home. But for the most part, that confers a general benefit on the city that raises everyone's property values. When M99 is repaid, my property value will probably go up. So it would need to just be so particularized to really make it equitable. I think we need a new funding source. Long story short, these debates are not going anywhere. There will always be a claim of injustice and inequity, and parties will be right. And Councilman Soha will also be right that we just need to move on. And everybody is saying something that's correct, but we're not really getting anywhere.
Councilman Flynn.
Kim, do you know roughly off the top of your head, say the last project we did up here, the Westwood Street project and all of that, out of all those properties that were assessed, how many, a percentage of those that were assessed the actual 5,000, and what percentage was assessed less than 5,000?
On that particular project, I think there were only 2 parcels that were under the 5,000.
Okay, thank you.
That was prior to our current policy also.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Bentley.
So I'm not as wedded to the principles I think my 2 allies across the way are. I want to fix the roads, and I said earlier, and I can't believe I'm amending it, but to address Councilman Soha's suggestion. This isn't a promise yet, but I guess I would suggest that I might be the 7th vote. I think that's a safe assumption. If the max cap were 2,800, we're set at 2,800, that would be costly for me, and it would hurt. But I think I'll consider it, and I might even promise it if that will get us to consider $2,800 as the max cap. Because I do feel like I'm kind of stuck in the middle by myself, because if I'm not mistaken, Councilman Bruns and Councilman Palladino are want 0 SADs. And I want roads more than I want 0 SADs, so let's find a compromise.
Yes, Councilman Flynn.
Councilman Bentley, could you fill me in on where you're getting this $2,800 figure? I mean, did you get that from staff that says that if everybody in a special assessment district pays $2,800, we can still fund the project? Or did that number just come, where did that number come from? I'm curious.
I guess I'm not sure. It might have been Meckel or Mr. Corkindale.
I believe one of our constituents suggested that.
And they came up with that number?
Arbitrary, I don't know. I didn't press.
I think it's safe to say it's arbitrary.
I believe one of the lowest special assessments. Oh no, it was more like 3,200. Did one come in around 2,800? That might be the lowest special assessment from Berry Street.
I don't think so.
I thought it was more like 3,200.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So
never mind, sorry.
It may have been based on maybe Harborview.
So Harborview and Lombard area came in like 3,200. But that was the first special assessment we done.
Right, and those were not full reconstructions, those were strictly a research.
So there's no real science behind this 2,800, it's just a number we're throwing out there. So we don't know if 2,800 is even gonna be able to fund anything. Because if we charge everybody a max of 2,800 and then it doesn't fund the project like it's supposed to, then we're screwed. And all of a sudden you got a half-done street or a street that's not done the way it should be. And, you know, I'd rather use a number that we've actually worked out and mathematically figured out.
That's what city staff said, Councilman, is if we do $1,200 less or $2,200 less per parcel, they're not gonna be able to do projects. moving forward.
Yeah, I think we're in the position where we have three proposals before us. The first is very likely to happen, I think, no matter what. Second, two and three are very unlikely due to under the current policy, they're very unlikely to happen. So if we want to be able to do one of either two or three, we have to compromise on the policy to some degree. And contrary to what Councilman Bentley said, I mean, in an ideal world, of course, no special assessments, but I'm willing to play ball on this. So.
Councilman Soha.
When we voted, Katie, does anybody remember what was the vote unanimous?
It was unanimous, Councilman.
When we readopted the.
Yes. February of this year, it was 8-0.
So, what frustrates me is when we have a unanimous vote, why did you vote for that if you're so ardently opposed to these assessments?
Councilman Bruns.
It was an improvement. But, you know, a vote doesn't mean I would like it to remain personally in perpetuity. I just thought it was better than the previous policy.
I appreciate that. So I would like to move forward, and I'd like us to, if we, just so I can clarify, if we do have meet and we do amend, and that comes up at the first meeting in February, and that's passed, then we need 30 days from, so we would need mid-March.
Correct.
And then we get to mid-March, now we're in the season and costs go up and
Correct.
everything. And that's it.
Councilman Flynn.
Since we're all in agreement, at least on proposed special assessment district 2026-1, I would make a motion that we set a public hearing for 2026-1, the special assessment district of Arch Avenue, Industrial Drive, and Proctor Drive.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Councilman Flynn, second by Councilman Morrissey. Any more council discussion? Seeing none, may I have a roll call vote? City Clerk Price.
Yes, Councilperson Mayor Pro Tem Palladino,
Yes.
Councilperson Soha,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Sessions.
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley,
Yes.
Bruns,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
and Morrissey.
Yes.
That's 9-0 approved, and that's resolution 3665.
Thank you. Okay. Now, we'll go into the next one, which is to, resolution of necessity set public hearing for 2026 special assessment district, SAD 2026-2 South Street.
So moved.
So moved. I have a motion by Councilman Flynn,
Support.
supported by Councilman Stuchel. Is there any more council discussion? Yes, Councilman Soha.
If we set this for mid-February and we make the change, can we, as council, extend that to,
So- I could send out the notices based on the current policy, but I wouldn't be preparing the actual assessment roll until the second public hearing. So the notices would go out based on our current cap at 5,000.
so theoretically, we could have these hearings, change the policy in the middle of it all, and then you would assess at the new policy.
Right. Because that first public hearing is, we're not establishing the role at that first public hearing.
Unless we change the percentage.
If you remember correctly, the procedure is this one, you'll have the public hearing. You'll determine whether or not to move forward at that point with the special assessment district. And one of the things that you do is you direct the assessor to create the assessment roll.
Right.
Which is gonna show the properties and how much each of them will be required to pay. That gets approved, right? It gets submitted and it gets approved. People have an opportunity to come and complain about that, whatever they want to, at the hearing on the assessment roll. But that's what Kim was getting at before.
Yeah, so we have 2 public hearings. The first one is just to say, yes, let's do a special assessment. Here's how we want to do it. I prepared the roll for the second public hearing, and then that's their opportunity to protest those individual ones if they're not happy with the way that the policy came out.
So Councilman Bentley, the public will have an opportunity to come before us before we give a final yes or no. So.
Yes, twice. And that's when you still have the opportunity to change the amount that is going to be assessed on the roll. Correct. You could direct the assessor at that second hearing to go back and reassess based on a different amount.
Could we direct her, Kim, can we direct you now to do it at the 2,800 cap and have, no, and both, I'm suggesting both, so we know what we're talking about at the next meeting.
Well, so that would be putting the cart before the horse, because unless you adopt it at the next meeting and direct her to prepare the roll, she doesn't prepare it until you said we want to move forward with this.
And they have 30 days notice, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was under the impression that if we go through the process as it's been laid out, we'd have one, the first meeting in February, and then the final signatures, the final citizen no, 51% would be due on February 16th.
So the way the process is laid out, February 16th is your first public hearing.
Oh, first?
Yes.
That's the first, oh.
That's the first public hearing. At that point, if more than 51% of the property owners come in and say, we don't want this project, then that's when you would have to have a vote of 7 people to move forward. But that's based on whether or not they want the project in general. These petitions that are already being turned in are petitions against having the project at all. Because they don't have a special assessment amount to be protesting against.
Yeah, see, so legally, if you track that right, the first one is, I don't want you to repave my road if I'm gonna be specially assessed. I just don't want you to do it, right? So that's the objection. I don't want you to move forward if it requires me to be specially assessed. Because remember, you're asking them to pay for part of the project. So their opportunity is to come in and tell you, I don't want you to move forward with it because I don't want to pay for it, or pay for part of it. They don't know for sure how much it is they're gonna have to pay yet if it moves forward. So they can't object to the amount they've been assessed because they don't know for sure what that's gonna be. Until, if you approve it, which if enough of them objected at that first hearing that you're gonna set tonight, if you were to move forward with doing so. At that hearing, you would have to pass it by that supermajority vote, like the 7 members. At that point, then, they would have an opportunity to come in and object about the specific amount if you had voted to move forward. And then you could direct that roll be adjusted in terms of the amount that's going to be assessed to each of the folks.
Mrs. Hardaway gave Katie something. Is it coherent? Does it make any sense? Did you look at it?
Councilman Bentley, so until you move forward with setting the public hearing and we know what the district is, we can't vet those signatures to see if the people are in it or not at this stage.
No, of course not. No, I just want to know if he thinks it passes legal muster or if it has any weight at all. Because I remember him saying, let me finish. Back around Mary Street, he said there's no earliest date. They can say no anytime, more or less in perpetuity. So I don't know the language on there or whatever.
So they've got some language at the top that says, and they quote section 11.3, the objection language from the charter. And then it says, my signature as the property owner indicated below is my written objection to any proposed road improvement being considered if such improvements might cost me more than $2,800. My objection stands until I rescind in writing or through 2026. Okay? That would be sufficient. Unfortunately, what I was going to tell you was the copy that we have has the signatures blacked out for some reason as though something were sitting on it. So that's ineffective because we don't know who it is that objected.
If they gave you the originals, would it be effective, essentially?
Yeah, you have the ability to accept that, sure. And anything, I mean, there's not like a formal form you have to fill out, right? And there's no requirement that says when it is you have to express your objection. So my position with it has been, my advice has been, even if you file it before you actually approve it, if you are in the special assessment district and you've indicated in writing that I object to it, you shouldn't have to wait until after you've approved, some technical requirement that we're going to have. Okay, well, it's got to be after you vote to set the public hearing, but before the public hearing, right? I mean, there might be lawyers that will tell you something different. My suggestion would be is that you treat it more broadly, because the goal is to honor the objection of the person and not cause confusion about whether or not my objection is valid, right? We just need it to be in writing, and we need to receive it before that date of that public hearing.
Second public
First public hearing.
February 16th.
Because that's what establishes the 7-vote requirement, right? Whether or not the sufficient number of persons have objected.
But remember, Councilman Bentley, until we vote on this motion, there is no district.
Right.
So all those people on that list, even if they were uncovered, they don't know if they're in the district because we haven't approved a district yet. So as of this instant moment, that's moot because we haven't officially said it's from the bike path to Fayette or the bike path to, the field house. We haven't said that yet, so we have to approve that first.
Only those property owners who actually own property within the district that you approve and establish, only their objection counts, because if I don't live in the district, I have no standing ground upon which to object one way or the other.
No, right, of course, but you're saying two different things, and I think you're right, and with all due respect. Well, they don't have the signatures, they're blocked out, is that right?
Yeah.
But if they weren't, they would be done. They could wash their hands of it. They've signed their thing saying no. Is that fair to say? It doesn't matter, but.
I would tell you that that's how you should treat it, assuming that that property owner is in the district. So that would be what you'd have to look at before that next hearing is, okay, these people have said they object to the special assessment district, okay? Is their property within the district? And again, I think if you want to be safe, treat it more broadly so you don't get into some legal fight later on about whether or not, those objections were done properly or counted properly or not counted. I would count them if you have them at the time when that person owns a property in the district and they expressed their desire that it not move forward.
So one of the issues with these early petitions going around In the Berry Street case, we had 3 different properties that changed hands in between the time that they signed the petitions and we actually had a public hearing. So.
Sure, I'm sure there's exceptions, and it's a
There's-
moot point because I don't think this is gonna be an official, effective thing that they tried to do.
Well, that one's not, but, yeah, so, I mean, what you would encourage people to do would be to do it after you approve the district. And to specifically refer to that district, right, that they are objecting to what you've approved as Special Assessment District 2026-2. Okay?
No,
That would be way better, but I don't want you to be in a position where if you had some objections from people that came in, 2 days ago, right? And they think they've objected properly, but you don't count them. That's the difference between whether or not you need to have a 7-person vote or just a simple majority. And then you don't count them, you do it by simple majority, and someone challenges it later on.
Councilman Wolf.
I thought we had moved to.
We do, but it went to second discussion, and now we're ending that, so hopefully. Yes. Okay, are we done with discussion? Okay, all right, I have a motion by Councilman Flynn, supported by Councilman Soha to attach the resolution setting the February 6, 20. Or Councilwoman Stuccio.
Yeah.
Right, okay, sorry, okay, all right. Attach the resolution setting the February 6, 2026 as a public hearing date for consideration to establish a special assessment district, SAD 2026-2 South Street. May I have a roll call vote, City Clerk Price?
Yes, Councilperson Soha.
Yes.
Stuccio?
Yes.
Wolfram?
Yes.
Mayor Sessions?
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley?
Yes.
Bruns?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Morrissey?
Yes.
And Palladino?
Yes.
It's 9-0, that's approved, it's resolution 36.
All right, now we have a proposal of special assessment district 2026-3. We have one for the actual assessment district of 2026-3 of the $960,000 from East Fayette Street to St. Joe River Bike Path, 0.42 miles, estimated 55 parcels in the SAD engineering estimate. Again, $960,000, or we have option to add on to the 2026-3 or 3A from East Fayette Street to East College Street, 0.12 additional miles, estimated 6 parcels, engineering estimated cost of it estimated at $327,300. Is there any council discussion?
Mayor Sessions,
Yes.
real quick, just for clarification. So there are 2 corresponding resolutions here, depending on whether council wants us to proceed with just doing basically from the bike path to Fayette, or if you want us to also include the optional component and go up to College Drive. So council needs to decide whether that optional add-in should be made part of the project now. That way we can notice it that way.
Councilman Silva.
Is it, if we adopt 3A, then 3 is included automatically? Or do we need to adopt 3?
That's correct.
3A?
No, that's correct. 3A is written to be inclusive of both the original scope plus the optional added.
Correct. And I move to adopt 3A.
3A, okay. Support. I have a motion by Councilman Soha, supported by Councilman Flynn. Any more council discussion?
That's the limited one, Fayette.
No, that's all the way back.
Yeah, 3A. Mayor Pro Tem Palladino.
Is this gonna require our engineer to redo the estimate then,
No, this estimate will suffice for what we need to do.
for our purposes?
Correct, yeah.
Any more council discussion? Councilman Soha.
Just that space that between Fayette and Academy Drive, it needs,
No, it's,
you know,
yeah.
if we do the rest of the road and we don't do that, it's kind of So that's why I decided to make that motion.
Yeah, and I guess it's gonna cost up to $300,000. Or his max that he thought it could come off of 327, I think, was 15%, so it's, I don't know, it seems like when we have all these uncertainties and we don't know what roads we are at. I would like it to go to Academy, but they say there's reasons it has to go all the way just to the curve. I don't know, it seems a little reckless.
Yes.
If I may, so parts of that, why we included in there, to come back if we ever did before is the mobilization cost. It wouldn't be feasible to ever come back and do that project if we don't do it now. You know, with College Street already being chip sealed, and then already through this would be the time to do that project would be now.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, City Clerk Price?
Yes, Councilperson Stuchel.
Yes.
Wolfram.
Yes.
Mayor Sessions.
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley.
Yes.
Bruns.
Yes.
Flynn.
Yes.
Morrissey.
Yes.
Palladino.
Yes.
And Soha.
Yes.
9-0 approved, resolution 3667.
All right, thank you. We'll move into item H, water fluoridation. Mayor Pro Tem Palladino.
Thank you, Mayor Sessions. Yeah, I sent an email there. Basically, I'm requesting that the BPU board and then the water and wastewater subcommittee sort of look into the research around fluoridation, around its cost, its in terms of both money and manpower, the opinions of the staff and the board in regard to its continued usage, ongoing federal research. I don't think HHS has actually released its report yet, but supposedly that's upcoming. So basically just getting the ball rolling on this. As you know, a few states, Utah, Florida, and hundreds of municipalities have stopped fluoridating because you can get fluoride in your toothpaste and your mouthwash, and there's no benefit for it being in your body, only for it being in your mouth. So I'm hoping they'll put together some sort of report. I did talk to Dr. DeBrogi, who did his doctoral research and does ongoing chemistry work in water. So I think he's going to look into it, present something to council at some point. So I guess all I'm asking for is just at this point to send this to BPU, that they put it on their docket and work at it at their own pace within committee.
Is that a motion?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Second. All right, Councilman Wolfram. I have a motion by Councilman Palladino, or no, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Palladino, and second by Councilman Wolfram. Any council discussion? Councilman Flynn.
Just a quick question for Mayor Pro Tem. Is this something, I'm just a little confused on the logistics, is this something that maybe you should have taken to the BPU first? Instead of having us send it to the BPU, would it have just been as easy just to go to the BPU meeting and say, hey, could you guys do this? I mean, I don't know what our role in it right now is. I guess I don't understand.
Well, council is going to be the ultimate authority to determine what goes into our water and what doesn't. So yeah, I could have gone to the BPU. I could have just sent them an email and said, would you put this on the agenda, please? It was, I don't think it's really anything more than just a courtesy to the council to know that I'm requesting this.
Okay.
Because I did copy Dr. DeBrogi, and he said he was going to do it already. So yeah, just a courtesy and asking for council to start investigating it on their own if they want to, so it doesn't catch you off guard.
So does this then require action by council, or are you just saying, hey, I mean, is this something we actually have to vote on, or?
No, it's, so in our council rules of procedure, we sort of go back and forth. Sometimes we'll formally recommend something with a motion to a committee, other times we'll just kind of schedule it informally. I tend to think though that when it's a sort of a larger issue that's gonna, we're not just like tinkering with a license rate or something like that. I prefer when it's brought forward so that the people have, you know, we're probably not gonna act on this for months, just so that well in advance notice that this is something we're considering.
I just didn't want to step in any BPU board toes, you know, when they go, hey, why is council sending us this? Why didn't they just come to us? Why didn't Josh just come to us and ask, instead of having the whole council say, we need you to do this? I just don't want to cheese anybody off.
Yes, no, thank you. Yes, I did ask Dr. DeBrogi privately to do this already, and he agreed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilman Saul?
Wait, but what was the motion that was?
Just to send this request to the BPU that they investigate it. I had some questions there, but just a general investigation. What's the process like? What do the employees think about it? What does the research say?
I'm all for that. I'd like, personally, I think having the full council say, we'd appreciate you doing this, you know.
Yeah, it's probably
means gives it some more weight.
Yeah, it's probably fairly time intensive. I mean, this I forget what the year was. The manager told me at one point, but we've been doing this since the 1950s, mid 1950s, I think. So it's going to be a fairly expansive investigation. So yeah, I think just them knowing this is something we're actually interested in knowing more about is helpful.
Okay. So, any more council discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Miscellaneous reports, we don't have any proclamations, none. Appointment, library board, Eric Moore. I would like council to consider the appointment of Mr. Eric Moore to the library board. Mr. Moore is a longtime city of Hillsdale resident, local businessman, and is deeply involved in the community. He knows the city well, having served on the TIFA, the Planning Commission, and the Hillsdale Community School Board of Education. As was said previously, the library board and our library director have requested that we find someone with financial experience or business background to serve on the library board, which is what I have been trying to do. I believe Mr. Moore, with his insurance and risk management background, combined with his lifelong business and community involvement, would be a great asset to the library board and help meet this need. Is there any council discussion? Councilman Bentley.
Is Mr. Moore here?
I do not see him, no, but we did ask him if he would come, so.
You asked him to come and he did not come?
He did not come. Well, we just.
Prior engagement, I see. So I'm gonna vote no, and I'm going to reprimand you again, Mr. Mayor. Last meeting, when we voted down Mr. LaRue 5-3, there was discussion, and you said something to the effect that Mr. Keir emailed you that day, having found out through other channels, and you replied to him. I don't know what we don't have the email, but you characterized it as you replied to him that you had already made an appointment, implying that that's why he isn't considered. It seems like you're continuing your abuse of Mr. Keir by not nominating him. I guess I would ask Katie or you or whoever does such things, how long has Mr. Moore's application been in?
So just so you know, Eric did, I think it was a year or two ago, he had his application in at one point, so he revisited that when he knew that you were looking for finance and business, so that's what I know.
It's dated January, it looks like 8th, 2025.
No, just last year.
But he had one prior, May of 23, I do believe. So this would be his second
Okay.
application.
Okay, thank you.
Any more council discussion? Yes, Councilman Morrissey.
Eric Moore was my colleague on the Planning Commission. He was the chairman of the Planning Commission, and I know him to be a man of integrity. I don't know what his position will guarantee that he will be a civil discussant, unlike some others who have been on the library board in the past, as Mayor Pro Tem Palladino well knows. There won't be any nonsense from him at all. He's a good man, and he may or may not agree with the majority on the board. I don't know, but he will. I know that there's been a commitment here to have civil discussion and debate in the past, not only on the library board but in other boards and this council, and he has always conducted himself appropriately. He's a gentleman, and I don't think you'll have any personal problems with him if he becomes your colleague. So I do intend to support him.
Thank you, Councilman Morrissey. Councilman Flynn.
I would agree 100% with Councilman Morrissey. Actually, I've known Mr. Moore since 6th grade. And I won't do the math, but I've known him since 6th grade. And everything that Will has said is true. Eric is a fine, upstanding resident of the city of Hillsdale, owns a business here in town, has been in various boards and committees, as the mayor mentioned, and he is very sound, very committed to the city of Hillsdale, regardless of what committee he's on, but very level-headed, very factual, listens to both sides, and I think he would benefit the library with his finance and business background, and also, as Mr. Morrissey said, with his calmness and his evenness to keep decorum, if you will, on the library board. So I plan to vote yes for Mr. Moore as well.
Thank you, Councilman Flynn. Councilman Bentley.
Yes, I should clarify. I don't mean to disparage Mr. Moore. I don't happen to know him myself. I take you both at your word. Good endorsements. My vote should be seen as a vote of no confidence in Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. Councilman Ballard. Mayor Pro Tem Palladino.
Thank you, Mayor Sessions. Appreciate all those good words. I have no reason to doubt them, given his vast service to the city. So I have no personal objection to his nomination, unlike the last one, though even that, I mean, that's a minor, almost irrelevant consideration. I do know, however, that he was pretty firmly advocating that the city could not, and the library board, could not regulate its content for children in regard to violence, vulgarity, and sexuality. And he wrote as much to the board and I believe to the council at the time. This is a policy objection that I consider to be fundamental. So while I will have no personal objection, and I'm sure we will be amicable if he is on the board, I cannot vote for him for that policy reason. I wish he were here so I could see if he still holds that position, but the libertarian view that the city must have a hands-off approach to library book acquisitions, that we can't have any policies about what benefits children educationally, morally, etc. I think it's totally inadmissible and just preposterous. Now I know that the attorneys and the whole civil rights regime says, yeah, don't make any sort of judgments about what books you're buying, just buy what's on the recommended list so that the ACLU doesn't crush your city. I get it from a mitigation, like insurance, lawsuit standpoint, but from a public policy standpoint, I can't support it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Palladino. Councilman Bentley.
Can you say the first part again? He said you cannot remove books for. Can you speak to that?
He said that we should not create a system to determine what books were age appropriate for children due to the threat of lawsuit. That was the email that I had pulled up. And I don't know what the content is or what the particulars of that are, but that to me is just, as a general statement, is not wise. The whole purpose of curation is to figure out what's good for what age group, what's good for what city, you know.
Do you have that email?
Yeah. It was part of the FOIA request from 2020 or 2021.
Do you have it in front of you?
No. I could probably pull it up. Might take a few minutes.
I don't want to waste everybody's time. So it sounds like Mr. Mayor is further engaging in a culture war here by this appointment. Is that what you're alleging?
I have no, I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he is a political activist. It seems like the answer is almost certainly no, based on his good standing in the community. But that judgment, which is held by a lot of people, including people who would identify my side, that we just have to say, whatever, it's fine, hands off. That's a very common view. Just avoid lawsuits, and I don't think it's right. One other thing that comes to mind, though, there's this weird tension on city council where we'll say, we need new blood. We just want the next generation. We want people to move here and set down roots, and we want to get the young people involved. And then we kick off someone who owns a business in the city, and we put someone on who doesn't live in the county, and we kick someone off who served on a board for, what did he come to, like 3 or 4 meetings? And he's only lived here 6 or 7 years, so it'd be his first introduction to the city. And we kick him off and say, well, this person has had, 4 board appointments. They've been the chairman of the most powerful board that the city has. Now, experience is something to consider too, but it's these conflicting interests it's very odd what we're doing here. We're sending out flyers, please get involved, and then kicking people off during their first board appointment to replace them with someone who's been on boards for a combined total of like 30 years worth of appointments. So just something to consider. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Palladino, though, that's something that, if you look at county, state, and federal, when you have the ability to appoint your friends, your buddies, your benefactors get appointed, whether it be a U.S. ambassadorship to Switzerland because you threw a big party for me and raised $10 million, or because, you went to school together. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I agree 100%, but unfortunately in my view, with appointments like this, whoever's sitting in that seat, whether it's you or Scott or whoever, you're going to appoint the people that you want to appoint. And unfortunately, I don't typically agree with that because, again, you get somebody in there that's just starting and learning and growing, and then the next guy gets elected and then says, nope, you're all done, and I'm going to appoint my buddies and pals, and then 4 years later, it's the whole thing again. So.
Oh, it's totally legitimate. It's fair. It's fair play. It's good politics, frankly, right? Get your guys out. I love patronage. That's great. But I'm just saying, then just say that.
Right.
Don't campaign saying, well, I'm going to let the O&G make an impartial decision, and it's going to be rooted in my nonpartisan vibe. No, you want to appoint the people you went to school with, the people you've known since 6th grade. Totally legitimate. This guy's he seems like a good guy. He's totally legit. Just let's cut the nonsense. Just get right to it. I want to appoint my friends, people who I trust, people who are left wing. Great. Do it. We'll disagree on policy. I'll be totally friendly in personal relations, but let's just let politics be politics. All this beating around the bush is it's obnoxious.
Councilman Bell.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to own or disown what he just suggested? Is this a longtime friend of yours? Can you say a few words besides he has finance experience? That's all you got to say?
Yeah. This is my appointment, so.
Okay, so you're not saying, okay?
If you want. Do you want me to read it?
If you got it.
Yeah. So this is basically an email against censorship, which is, of course, this to me is just this leftist language that is useless. It doesn't advance the discourse. It's totally dishonest. It's the question of what books we keep and what books we get rid of. It's called weeding. It's done hundreds of times every year, and they're in the book sale, and no one makes an objection. Okay. Yeah, it's very innocuous, right? I have no problem with it, and it's an opinion many people hold. As a licensed insurance counselor, I'm concerned about potential litigation and the financial liabilities, i.e. deductible obligations, uncovered claims, increased costs of insurance, these actions could impose on the city. If these potential acts are deemed to be intentional, there could be a denial of insurance coverage, as liability policies typically have an exclusion for intentional action. This would mean the city could be financially responsible for any uninsured claims and could result in higher insurance premiums, or worse, the ability to obtain insurance at renewal. Should the city be putting taxpayers at risk for additional costs? Yes, we should defend the interests of our city. We should defend the interests and the rights of our children, and insurance obligations are not the primary thing to consider. They're one thing to consider. Also, I think this is just totally wrong. The idea that the librarian is going to choose to get rid of some books and buy others is not going to lead to a calamitous lawsuit. It's done every day, all over the country. You get rid of old books, you buy new books. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's ludicrous, and it so happens we just renewed our insurance, and I see our guys are still there. I'm tempted to call them up and have them opine on this, but I think it's too ridiculous to even take seriously, so thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the appointment?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Flynn, supported by Councilman Morrissey. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, City Clerk Price?
Yes, Councilperson Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Sessions?
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley?
No.
Bruns?
No.
Flynn?
Yes.
Morrissey?
Yes?
Palladino?
No.
Soha?
Yes.
And Stuchel?
Yes.
6 yes, 3 no, those passes.
All right, thank you very much, City Clerk Price. And now, let's see. Let's see, other is none. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. We have reappointments to the Election Commission, Ginger Novak, and then we have William Malawi. Is there any council discussion? Yes, Councilman Palladino.
Working well with you, Katie?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Then I make a motion, we reappoint Ginger Novak and William Mullally to the Election Commission.
Thank you. Is there any support? I got a motion by Councilman Flynn, supported by Councilman Stuchel, or Councilman Soha, sorry. Okay. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, now, thank you very much for bringing that to my attention. Okay. No, other none? Okay, so we move into general public comment. I'm opening the podium for your comments to 3 minutes. State your name and address.
Jeff Mazekas. I was sitting at home watching this meeting, not wanting to come out in the cold, and got extremely frustrated by your sad situation. One thing that is extremely frustrating to me as a citizen is we're playing the Russian roulette of sad. We don't know when they're going to start. We don't know when they're going to happen. We have Councilman Flynn that has mentioned that we should have like a long projected process. And yet we have to follow a process that limits it down to basically a 1 week, 2 week time period that we now have to say yes or no, or send our letter in saying we're going to owe $5,000, $2,800, $2. There's a grant coming, we don't know. On the culture of negativity, I would be extremely frustrated working for the city of Hillsdale, spending all that time that they're doing currently, figuring out projections, et cetera, just to get us struck down. I think there's got to be an easier process that says, okay, let's engineer out 5 years worth of projects, understanding that the price can't be figured until it's ready. And that way you can let as Councilman Flynn mentioned, letting your constituents know, hey, in 5 years, you're up. It's time. So at that point, they can save money, they can figure out if they're going to come contest it, and at that point, Kim is not having to work under the gun in a 2 week time period to get numbers that we continually ask every single time. I mean, it's not once, it's not twice, it's every single time. And as a citizen, I look at that as wasted money and frustration on her behalf, and she doesn't deserve that, nor does Jason or the new engineer. We need to have a process that's simple. It can be easily brought in and said, this is the pricing that's going to be, so that we can determine whether yes or no. Instead of waiting until, you know, a period of time where you have a gun on your head going, okay, well, we're in construction time, if we don't get it done today, it's done. As a citizen, it's just extremely frustrating. And I think there's an easier process, because I think we're all talking amongst each other, but we're going over each other's heads in what we're saying. So I think there's gotta be a process there that can be looked at, looking at a longer term basis. Not just today, 2026, but 27, 28, 29, 30. I think it would make it easier for your citizens. They wouldn't be extremely frustrated, because at that point, we know in 5 years, Wolcott Street's getting done, or Marion Street's getting done. We know at that point. And then at that point, we have an idea of what the pricing is going to be, so we're not coming February 6th and going, well, we have 2 weeks to get this done. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's interesting how this culture of negativity keeps popping up, isn't it? So I find it interesting because it seems like you guys are talking a lot more civilly lately. Your past few meetings have been very informative. You guys debate, you talk amongst yourselves, you bring up the issues, you try to solve those issues. It's not difficult, is it? Why can't we do this more? It's also very interesting because Scott Sessions, you do a very good job mediating the meeting. Very good. I appreciate that. I think everybody does. Problem is that there's this culture of negativity that we have. For some reason, you have why are you going around filming people and posting it online? It makes no sense. Why? I've put a proposal up. I gave it to a couple members here. I think it should be brought to the board. Anybody, you don't have to use my proposal. It's just an example. You can bring it up, anybody can bring it up. But I think this whole culture of negativity thing needs to be addressed by you guys. And put it to bed. Get it over with. Let's move on. We've got other stuff to deal with, don't we? Thank you.
Thank you.
Penny Swan, Ward 4. Clarify this filming. It's illegal to film while driving a car by yourself. I was in the car with Scott. I asked him to drive by there and I filmed it. And I posted it. There's the truth. And I can show you my phone and show you that I recorded it.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the agenda. CJ Timeframe, Ward 3. It was brought up with the special assessments. First of all, I really appreciate, and it just, every time I come and you guys are discussing all of the things that you have to consider when you're talking about the roads, or any topic that matter, because, we have to get the roads done. Continually, and that was my point before, is that let's figure out a way to put it in a process that is what is accomplished ultimately, because even the people on Berry Street, and I was one of them, want the road done. In fact, the letter over here was stating that if the amount was $2,800, and I don't know where that number came from, it doesn't matter, I don't care. I think that if we can kind of keep in mind that there are people, and if the SADs are going to include the schools and some of the other nonprofits and stuff that don't pay any taxes, which is why I think we don't have any money, because there's so many and the percentages are so skewed in that area, then the people that can't afford it, the older people, I would be, like on Berry Street, I didn't sign that petition because I didn't want the road done. I knew that there was a lot of people on that street that couldn't afford it. I could afford it. I wasn't worried about it. I got hit at Riverdale. As soon as I bought the property, I had a $5,000 assessment. So anyone that comes and says, well, I paid $5,000 then and now it's this much, you know what? You don't get to go to the gas station and say the gas was 20 cents lower yesterday, so that's what I want to pay. It doesn't work like that. It's what we're dealing with right now. So anybody that comes and complains about it, they really don't have a leg to stand on, in my opinion, because I've got hit with it already. I'm also on Riverdale, or on Reading Avenue, and I will get hit with the special assessment. I can afford the $5,000. Don't want to pay it, but I want my road fixed. I'm more than willing to pay $5,000 if that cap is lowered to help somebody else be able to afford it. There are people that can afford it and there's people that can't. I don't know how you figure that out, but we need to get the roads done. And if the SADs are the only option that we have at this point, because we don't have time to screw around, because pretty soon we're gonna have sinkholes. I mean, there's a couple of roads, I mean, I'm in a truck and I feel like I'm bottoming out. So that's my point, is that maybe there's some people, like with what Rob said, you know, I threw $5,000 at the roads. Maybe there's people that are willing to donate. Have we even asked? You know, if it's on my road, I'm willing to pay the $5,000. If that's what it comes down to make sure that the roads get done. But there are a lot of people that can't afford that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Seeing none, I will close the podium and I will go into the city manager's report. Assistant City Manager Sam Fry.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items to share here on behalf of Mr. Mackey. So just as a brief update for you, city staff, we recently met with the Michigan Department of Transportation to review the Halleck Street Railroad Bridge project. I know it's something that we've discussed in the past, but that project is still on track for a summer 2027 construction. It's scheduled to take place in the summer while school's out to try to mitigate the disruption there. The reason we're mentioning it at this stage is because here, probably within the next month or so, there's going to be a noise variance request that's going to come to council because of some of the work that they have to do driving the steel piling in. When they go ahead to do this project in the summer of 27, they're going to try to work as long hours as they can, possibly around the clock, to try to only have the railroad shut down for about 5 days. They really can't afford for the railroad to be shut down, 2 weeks or more, where the railroad starts losing business and it hurts our industry. So just something to be aware of that will be coming up within the next month or so, that noise variance request. We've also been working with the MDOT teams. We have several projects to coordinate, including the TEDF grant that we got for Industrial Drive, as well as the TAP grant, which has entered the design phase. Other than that, the MEDC has announced that there is a new round of Match on Main Street funding opening up here soon. That is a grant program that they typically do once every year. We do have businesses here in the city of Hillsdale that are eligible for physical place-based business. You can get a matching grant of up to $25,000 if you're looking to improve your business or expand. So when that guidance comes out here towards the end of the month, we'll have a press release on that. We'll share that with TIFA, with the EDC, and get that information out to our local businesses to encourage them to apply. In addition, the Department of Public Services, they did hire 2 new general labor positions. We had a gentleman that started today. There's another one that's going to start the week after next. So with those 2 individuals coming on, we're going to be just down 1 person. So that's good to get those crews back up to full strength. Just kind of in internal staff news, we do have a budget kickoff meeting this Thursday. With the start of the new year comes the budget process again, so staff are preparing to dive into that as well. Our capital improvement plan is underway. That's something that will go to Planning Commission during the first quarter of the year. Other than that, I just want to note Community Development Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock on the 2nd floor boardroom to discuss the 250th celebration, what we're going to do to try to coordinate with the American Legion and several other groups that are going to be putting on a really amazing celebration for that. So if anyone's interested in volunteering or being a part of those efforts, we'd encourage them to show up to that meeting, get an update on what we have going on, and figure out how you can chip in. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Any questions? Councilman Bentley?
Yes, a few. Mr. Spence asked about the fines. Have they been paid? Do you know about that?
You say fines, or you're talking about Hope Harbor? They have been paid.
They've been paid in full?
Are you talking about fines or the invoice for the labor?
The invoice for the removal was paid to our office. The fines would have been paid to district court, so I don't know if those have been paid or not.
Okay, good, thank you.
More questions? No? Thank you very much. Good. Thank you. Okay, we'll move into council comments. Councilman Bentley.
I heard Councilman Wolfram and Stuchel whispering that they were not aware of what Mr. Lashway and Ms. Swan were talking about. So I would invite you to explain to them and to anyone else on council that isn't aware of what the kerfuffle is.
I would say that Ms. Swan went ahead and answered that. So, that's your answer.
Was seemed insufficient, so.
Well, that's your answer.
Okay, well, here's my understanding, and I might be wrong. Is it the case that on election night, presumably after the results, you and Ms. Swan drove around looking for where I was and found us and recorded it and uploaded it to Facebook? Is that what happened?
I am saying Ms. Swan answered that question.
So again, you're refusing to answer my question. I guess that's right. It's a strange position to take in this one especially, that you're not gonna, Mr. Lashway seems to have put together a resolution or something to, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but it's all over Facebook, and I would advise you to make a statement about it, other than hiding behind Ms. Swan.
She answered that, so that's all I'm gonna say.
Are you gonna refute or acknowledge what I just characterized, that you drove around on election night with her filming me and my supporters? Did that happen?
She answered your question, okay?
Wow.
That's enough.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilman Flynn.
I did have something for Sam real quick, because I honestly don't remember. When we set the schedule for the 2026 meetings, I just realized that February 16th is President's Day. Is the city open President's Day?
We are open on that day. Yeah.
Okay, so that's just a normal Monday. Okay, just wanted to double check. Thank you.
Councilman, or Mayor Pro Tem Palladio.
Thank you, Mayor Sessions. One thing we went over really quickly, well, all the communications petitions, but the staff update on solar on page, I don't know, you got the link there. Yeah, so the final paragraph says, city staff take the protection of the city's water supply seriously. However, projects located outside the city's jurisdiction are most appropriately reviewed through the applicable state and host township regulatory processes rather than city or BPU review. Yeah, I assume that's the case, but the question here is, does the township have an environmental and regulatory review? What does the state's review look like? Do we think that's sufficient, right? I mean, if there was gonna be a power plant in Fayette Township, well, yeah, that's Fayette Township's requirement. My question is, are they doing an adequate job? Right? Are we sort of checking their work to make sure they're right? I know that there are headwaters there, or protected waterlands there, so I guess I'm still not fully satisfied with this. Does anyone know what happened last night? I've been sick.
They basically canceled the meeting.
Okay.
Or postponed it again. Two of the planning commission members recused themselves because they are property owners as well. And then a third stepped aside as well, from what I understand. So that did not leave a quorum. So until they can appoint some new people to their planning board to have a quorum, they won't have another meeting probably for a couple of weeks yet. So
okay.
That's the way I understand what happened.
Okay.
I don't know if Mr. Nichols was there, so, but that's what I understand. It's nothing. They let the general public speak for about 90 minutes or so, but then when it came time for them to act, the two gentlemen stepped aside to recuse themselves, and then a third person, I do not know who, also stepped down at that time for some sort of conflict, and so that did not leave a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Flynn, I appreciate that. Well, that's good, or I guess bad to hear, in a sense. Yeah, I guess what I was looking for more was a positive affirmation from the BPU that there is no risk. I don't know if there will be upcoming studies from Eagle or from Fayette Township about this, but you know, it's not really in our wheelhouse, but providing water and electricity is kind of the basis of civilization, so that's the thing we have to get right more than anything else.
Councilman Flynn.
So I knew this, and I don't want to speak as a scientist because I'm not, but I kind of knew this when we talked 2 weeks ago, and it slipped my mind, but I was reminded by a number of Hillsdale County residents, so those of you listening, thank you, that the city of Hillsdale is unique in the state of Michigan, that we are the headwaters to 5 rivers.
Right.
So, from what I am told by those who know, all of our water flows out. So, technically, I guess, you know, for lack of, you know, I guess anything can happen, but chances are pretty good that with all the water flowing out of the city of Hillsdale, none of that potentially contaminated water should be able to flow back in. So there, we should have, yes, sir.
As to whether or not BPU is going to be able to tell you that, it's highly unlikely because there's no requirement of any such type of study or review as part of the permitting process. If you go read the statute, yeah, they have to consult with Eagle, but Eagle generally does not do any kind of hydrology studies or anything like that. The only one thing they might do is talk to you about siting and issues from a drainage standpoint, but that's about it.
And the
So they're
EPA
not
doesn't
gonna
have
be looking
anything to
at-
say about the EPA has its hands in our ponds, in our backyards.
EPA's been largely emasculated, so they don't do a whole lot of anything these days. Eagle, if you look at the process again, there's a statute that spells it out, because the state came in and said, hey, we're gonna standardize the way the review is done when you apply for these permits. So you as a township or a city or any other kind of municipality cannot have an ordinance that has requirements to get a permit to put in one of these large solar, and I think it's more than 50 megawatt capacity is the cutoff, right? So you can't have one that covers these big projects that differs from that state statute in terms of its requirements.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and so if you review that statute and then go check with the information that's available from Eagle, you'll see they don't do that kind of study. But again, they'll talk about some siting requirements, not even requirements, assistance they'll provide, or suggestions in terms of siting to deal with issues like drainage, or from a agricultural standpoint, you know, if the land's agricultural and you want to be able to use it when it's decommissioned, waste to avoid soil compaction, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's about all they do.
This doesn't seem possible with the acreage. I don't know, I guess my next thought is asking the city or the BPU to send a letter to our representative requesting them to work with Eagle or to update this law. And this is the pro-environments people supposedly aren't gonna review the effects of 1,000 acres of solar panels on our water. Okay, no, sorry, I'll stop ranting. I did have one other question. Jason is talking to someone. A few people just asked me if we could go over the policies for snow removal. When do you go out? What are your overtime things? People, if you're not prepared right now, that's totally fine, but maybe for next meeting, like if it's MLK Day, how many inches do you need to activate overtime? When do you salt? How do the conditions of the roads affect whether you plow? For example, if there's like a really beat up road, will you be a little more light? Sorry, just threw a lot of questions at you.
Well, and I'd like to throw one more at you so that you can roll this all into one, and you've heard this even probably before you took the job, is, why can you drive to Jackson County, Lenawee County, Branch County, and the roads, and I know this is more of a county commission thing, but the roads improve 1,000%, yet you know exactly when you pull into Hillsdale County.
The first thing I'll say to that is traffic. The amount of traffic volume on the road is what clears it the most. Traffic volume needs heat, reaction, radiant heat. That's what melts these roads off. That's why the highway today is more off than the secondary roads and the third roads. They will never melt off because there's not a lot of traffic or the amount of heat on these secondary roads. This is from our town to any town the same way. I just got back from a vacation and I still had to work there because I just can't take it. Most municipalities actually throw out, maybe this is something I need to do in the future as well. Expect roads we pass, expect snow-covered roads for the coming weeks with the impending cold temperatures. Salt's only effective down to 15 degrees. Today we put calcium chloride with all of our stuff just to get what we have, just like most smaller municipalities. The county, they actually run calcium chloride liquid. So calcium chloride liquid helps that salt kick quicker. But again, at night, it ain't doing much good. You need that sun, you need that heat to do anything. Back to the on-call policy. The policy is right now is basically when hills, intersections, major streets become covered with ice or 4 inches of snow or more, we are called in by 911 through the police department. Now, I can, because I do live in town, I'll go drive around town and make those calls and take them out to the police department if they call later. But generally, it's a really good combination. Local streets, which would be your Berry, south behind the water tower, Griswold, etc. Those are local streets. Those will not get done unless there's 4 inches or snow or more, or if it's freezing rain conditions. So that's what's on that as well. One thing too, and I talked with MDOT on this a couple weeks ago. You might see the county out, well, they have conditions that are 55 miles an hour curves. The geometrics are totally different than we have here in the city of Hillsdale. Our highest speed in a straight line is 40 miles an hour going out of the north end. A lot of ours is 25 miles an hour. Just the need's not there as it is in the higher speed areas.
Thank you, that's very helpful. And then for regular time, is it also 4 inches?
No, regular time we're out.
If it's snowing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Regardless of the kind of road, it can be parks, cemeteries, secondary cul-de-sacs, whatever. But as Sam, thank you for bringing that up. Up to the last couple of weeks, we've been running with 5 people to do everything we have. And we've still been able to hit everything in an 8-hour shift. My foreman goes out, my mechanic's out, and I'm out as well.
Okay. So salting 15, 4 inches or more when you're on call all the time during normal time. Was there another question? I think that might have been it.
No, that is policy. I've broken policy, I hate to say this, but if they become icy, I'll bring them in 3 inches or 2. And also, every storm is a living, breathing thing. It's so different. If the temperatures tomorrow are projected to go below 15, 20, or 0, well, we're going to come in and try to get off as much as we can before that cold snap, because as soon as it's on for weeks.
Oh, I know. Okay. Do you prioritize major over local? Some people are asking about, okay, so you're always going to do Hillsdale and 99 and Manning before, okay.
Absolutely. Okay. So the way it's written, or the way the policy is, and this is across the board for many municipalities, highway emergency route, which is Howell Street going up, Manning Street going back, and then west. Your major street arterials, which are your busy arterials coming to town, your local streets, and after that would be your dead ends. Cul-de-sacs are always last because of the amount of traffic that's on them. Cemeteries, parks, and then alleys will be last.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir.
I remember I was gonna ask Sam Fry, for you. What's the word on the TAP grant and the MDOT and the road diet?
So Sam just brought it up a little bit. So right before Christmas there, and again, I apologize, I'm kind of gone doing some other things, but we did get word on, we did got that grant. They are working on it right now. I believe we are incurring costs in the next month or two on that as well. Yes, we did get that grant in its entirety.
Sorry I asked. Thank you. Mr. Palladino, Katie, can you include in the packet and email us the signatures such as they are, please? Yeah. And can you get that email that you read to Katie to get into the...
I think it's already been FOIA, but yeah.
And Mr. Lashway, do you have a copy of whatever it is that you were referring to?
Katie.
Katie has it? Can you include that in the packet and also email all three of those requests to us this week? Thank you.
I know it went unnoticed, but I would like to thank city staff for fixing that beeper thing. We have, I think, come up with a way to make it very efficient, and we've taken the annoyancy of it. So thanks to whoever spearheaded that, they should get a gold medal.
Councilman Soha.
Thank you, Bob. That reminded me. If you're not aware, Judge Sanderson passed on the 15th, and I just want to send my condolences to his family and thank him posthumously for his service to our communities.
No council discussion.
February 12th, I think is his.
Yeah, February 12th.
At 2 o'clock is his memorial at the First Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
With that note, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. All right, motion by Councilman Flynn, supported by Councilman Wolfram, right? Or
Yeah.
Stinchell. I'm hard of hearing, yes, so sorry. Okay. I just want to thank everyone for coming out to tonight's meeting. Thank you. That motion is, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned.